What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inner Self Guide, where we explore the mindset, habits, and intentional choices that help you lead from within. Today, we're diving into something foundational but often overlooked: your leadership philosophy. What is it? Why does it matter? When should you create one? And how do you evolve as you grow? So, how do you change it as you grow? So, what is a leadership philosophy? It's defined simply as your personal compass, a set of core beliefs, values, and principles that guide how you lead. It shapes your decision making, how you treat people, and the culture you build. So, my leadership philosophy has been developed over time, and it's been mostly developed by watching other leaders that have been above me, watching how they lead and things that they do, and mimicking those things. So oftentimes we have good and bad leadership. So good leaders obviously want to take the good traits that they have, such as care, compassion, empathy, sympathy, and things like that, to things that you may be going through. You also want them to mentor you and guide you to do better, to be better. And so I've developed my leadership philosophy based on those experiences that I've had. And so I personally believe there's obviously lots of different leadership styles. You have laissez-faire, which is basically like, it's not my problem if somebody on my team makes a mistake. It's not my problem. I'm going to let somebody else correct that person. I don't feel comfortable correcting them, so I'm just going to let somebody else do it. And that's laissez-faire leadership. So you also have transactional leadership, which is basically a give and take. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If you don't scratch my back, then I'm not going to take care of you. You take care of me, I'll take care of you, and that's transactional. Transformational is when you see somebody and they have really good potential. You see that they're a good follower, they're a good worker, they work hard, they get things done on time to the best of their ability. Not striving for perfection, but just striving for somebody that's doing a good job and continuously tries to grow and learn. That is a kind of person that I seek out now. And my goal is to really transform them into being better and being even better than I am, be a better leader than I am, be a better example than I've set for them, etc. So that's some of my leadership philosophy. So when should you create a leadership philosophy? It's not just for executives. Anyone who influences others can benefit from having one. The ideal time to create one is when stepping into a leadership role, either formal or informal, like you become a supervisor, team lead, or a boss of a team. Then that's a good time to you should have really been developing one before then, but it's not a bad time to start, and it's not a bad place to start. When you experienced a leadership failure or challenge, as I mentioned earlier, I've seen a lot of bad leadership where it was like, if you don't take care of me, I'm not going to take care of you. If you have a question, don't come to me. Do your research first. Ask your peers, things like that. And that's not a good example of a good leader. A good leader will sit down and mentor you and take the time, especially when it's a quick, easy answer to a question that you may have. If they can answer it, then I feel like they should by all means answer it and not beat around the bush and tell you to go find, someone else to take care of it for you, or go ask them the question, ask your peers, ask your teammates before coming to me with your problems, if you will. And that's just poor leadership. During intentional career reflection, so as I reflect on my career, I can think of times where I wish that I could have been the leader of the team, but unfortunately I just wasn't in that kind of position yet to do so. So as I reflected, when I became a leader, before I became a leader, I started to reflect on what kind of leader do I want to be? Do I want to be somebody that doesn't take charge or just lets other people take charge and tell my people what to do? Or do I want to step in and take the lead and say, hey, look, this is my team. I'm responsible for them. I take full responsibility and accountability for them, and I'm going to take responsibility as well. So after a personal transformation or identity shift, so oftentimes, like, you go through life and you have experiences and things like that. And so some of your experiences can transform how you lead as well. Some things like if think of a time that you grew up in, and maybe you had some childhood trauma or something happened to you, like maybe you heard your parents yelling all the time. And so as an adult and you have kids, you don't want to be the parent that's constantly yelling at their kids or yelling at your spouse and getting in arguments and things like that because you saw it as a kid. So that's one example of, how your experiences in life can really determine what kind of parent you're going to be or what kind of leader you're going to be. Maybe you had some really traumatic leadership. I know for me, in my old job, it was extremely toxic leadership. Anytime that you need something done, it was always go ask your teammates or go ask somebody else. I don't have time for this. This is your job. Do you not know your job and things like that? And it's not that I don't know my job. It's that I'm coming to you as a leader because before I make a decision, an executive decision to do something, I want to make sure that I include you in that process. But it seemed like every time that I would have an idea, the idea was taken and used, but then it turned into their idea, not my idea any longer. And so that transformed the kind of leader I wanted to be, because whenever people came to me with new innovative ideas or better solutions to problems and things like that, I want to take their advice. If I can, I want to implement it. We can try it out. We can do a trial. And if it works, then we'll implement it. If it doesn't work, then I'll say, hey, go back to the drawing board. It's not bad. It's just not done yet. I have some questions or I have some concerns, and express your concerns, and then have that person go back and do some more research, or have them redo the process until it gets perfect. Practice makes perfect. But I'm going to empower my team to step out and to take those initiatives to do better and to make the company better and everybody as a whole better. One team, one mission, and we're all there to get the job done, and we're all there to get the mission done. So let's just do it to the best of our ability. So if that means that somebody comes up with an idea that's more effective and efficient, then let's try it. And if it works, then great. If not, it's not say, don't just dismiss it and say, no, you need to start over from scratch. No, just fix these couple things. And once you fix those couple things, we'll go back and relook at it. And then if it's something good, then we'll implement it at that time. So it's not a no, it's a just not right now, right? So don't immediately just say no because it sounds complicated or challenging. If you're going to tell your people no, there needs to be a good, viable reason behind it. It can't just be, well, this is the way it's always been done, or this is how we do it here. That's not a good excuse. That's not a good reason to say no. A good reason to say no is, hey, we've tried all the things from A to Z and it still doesn't work. So I'm sorry, but unfortunately we just can't do this at this time. And maybe that person goes back and they do some more research and they try really hard and they continue to pluck at this thing. And then a few months later, maybe even a year later, they come back to you and they're like, hey, I refined this. Let's take another look at it if you don't mind. And then you as a good leader, you should listen to that and say, okay, let's re-examine it. Let's re-look at it. And then at that time, if it's good, then implement it. That's what good leaders do. And so that's the kind of leader that I wanted to be, was somebody that was going to take other people's advice. I'm going to listen to their ideas. I want them to be creative. I'm going to empower them to be creative. I'm also going to empower them to make mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to ever learn. And so a lot of people learn by making mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. And you as the leader need to understand that, hey, this is my team. It's okay. They're going to make mistakes as we work through these processes and procedures. They're going to make mistakes, but in the end, it's going to be good, and it's going to be better than it was when I got here. And that's another thing that good leaders do, is they leave things better than the way they found them. Whether it be the team or processes, procedures, they're constantly looking for ways to improve processes and procedures. So that's some of my leadership, and that's some of the ways that I started creating my own philosophy. So if you're leading without intention, whose philosophy are you living out? So if you don't lead, if you're not leading with intention, and intention is, as I said earlier, it's doing the things. You have to be intent with your people. You also have to understand that they have differing personalities and things like that. And so with having differing personalities, you need to understand that you can approach one person one way, but you can't approach everybody the same way. You have to tailor how you speak to your team based on who you're talking to and their personality types. So that brings me into another point of, knowing your people. It's important as a leader to know each person individually, what their conflict styles are. If I come to them with a problem, how do I need to present this problem? Do I just go in there and say, hey, this is terrible, and just tell them that they're doing a horrible job? Or do I go in there a little bit softer and say, hey, look, this is really good. However, it could be better. And these are some examples, or these are some ways that it could be better. And this is what I expect from you. This is what I see in you. But I just need you to understand that, like, I'm not telling you this to put you down or to undermine you. I'm telling you this because I know that you're able to do this. I know that you have potential to be a good leader in the future. And so I'm going to pour into you and things like that. And so then that person now is going to be like, okay, they see something in me I don't. And they're going to want to work that much harder. And if they don't, then that's on them. But you don't just give up on them right away. You give them multiple chances to show you that they're just not interested. And then you move on. So how to create a leadership philosophy, reflect on your values. What principles do you never want to compromise? Define your leadership purpose. Why do you lead? I think that's really important, is the why. Why do you want to be a leader? Why do you want to lead a team? Why do you want to be in roles and situations where you're put in charge of other people? What's your why? Identify your guiding behaviors, how you lead others day to day. And then write it out. Create a paragraph, a mantra, or even a few bullet points. Share it with your team, mentor, or peers. This builds accountability. So it's just like a goal. Like if you share your goal with other people that have the same mentality, like say, for example, if you want to get in shape, like me, I need to get back in shape. So for me, I'm going to tell people like, hey, this is my goal. I want to eat healthier. I want to go back to the gym. I want to get back in the shape that I was in a few years ago as I put on a few pounds because I'm getting older and my metabolism is starting to slow down some. So I'm telling people like, hey, I want to eat healthier. I want to do these things. And those people in turn hold me accountable whenever I put junk food in my mouth. When I eat a bag of chips or I eat a donut or things like that, they're going to stop me and say, hey, like, do you really need that? Or should you really be eating that? Considering your goals and the things that you've shared with me, are you sure that's a good idea? And so it's so important as a leader as well to let people know like, hey, these are my goals for my team. This is the kind of leader I want to be. So if I'm failing or if I'm not doing it right, or if I'm doing something contrary to the kind of leader or type of leader I want to be, then I expect you to call me out on it respectfully and critical criticism, if you will. I want you to tell me the truth. I don't want you to beat around the bush, but I want you to approach me in a way like, hey, and this is just my personality type. I don't do well with yelling. I've been yelled at a lot. And so yelling doesn't really get anywhere. It doesn't really do anything for me. If anything, it's probably going to make me laugh, which I know makes people more angry with me. But in the end, I just don't respond well to that kind of criticism. I just don't. I shut down. I shut it out and I'm not listening anymore. So it's better for somebody to come to me calmly, collectively with all their thoughts and everything else and tell me that, let me know that you have my best interest in mind or at heart. Because if you don't have my best interest in mind, then I'm probably not going to hear you out. I'm just not. So I think criticism is important, but again, I think it has to be tailored to that individual. So why and when to change your leadership philosophy? Growth changes us. So should our philosophy. So for example, like I've seen laissez-faire leaders, the ones that are like, well, it's somebody else's problem. I've seen them change into a more transformational leadership style. And this happens usually when they have a fire lit underneath them in a sense. Like another supervisor has to come to them and say, hey, I'm coming to you because one of your people is not performing well and you're not doing anything about it. So I had to take care of it. I had to go to my boss, and then my boss had to meet with them and talk to them about their issues and problems and concerns that we're having with them. And that boss had to make the correction. And as a leader, that's the last thing that you want. You never want to hear, just like your kids, you want a teacher or you want another parent to come to you first before saying, well, they're not going to do anything about it. So let me go and talk to this other parent who knows the family really well, and they can talk to them about their kid. That's laissez-faire parenting, and that's not good. And so a lot of times as leaders, once you have that happen to you, it's like, oh, I need to step my game up. Oh, I need to make corrections on the spot. I can't let these things slide. And so I think that's really important. That would be one really good reason of when you should change it. Reasons to revise it. You've evolved in values or purpose. You're in a new context, leading different people, or in a new culture. So when you change jobs, for sure, you have to understand the culture. Hopefully, if you're stepping into a leadership or supervisory role at a new company, hopefully they're telling you about their culture and how they operate and how they do things, how they mentor their people, how they discipline their people, etc. But if not, then you're going to have a tough time navigating the waters, if you will. You faced a recurring leadership challenge or feedback, as I mentioned earlier. Leadership isn't static. Clinging to old ways can hold you back. So you can't stay stagnant as a follower, and you can't stay stagnant as a leader. You have to be constantly evolving, learning, and growing. That's what this whole thing is about, is learning and growing. So for example, me, in dealing with the younger generation, a lot of them use words like CAP or RIS or Sigma. And I had no idea as a leader what that stuff meant. And so I had to go and look it up to figure out what it meant. And so that's one way that it changes, it evolves. You're never staying stagnant and things like that. So how to change your leadership philosophy? Audit the old. Throw away what no longer works. Reassess your current values. What's most important now? Gather input. Ask those you lead or trust what they experience from you. So again, that's that feedback, asking for feedback and seeking feedback constantly. Personally, I feel like it should be a constant thing. Just as you wouldn't go, you need to also appreciate or show appreciation to your employees just by simply saying good job. Truett Cathy said it best. He said, who needs reassurance or who needs to be shown appreciation? Anybody that's breathing. And same thing for your employees. They constantly shouldn't be hearing all the negative things about themselves. They should also hear some positive things as well. Gather input, rewrite and recommit. Make it a living document. So again, just as you and I, as we grow and learn things and we grow in our leadership, we evolve. So sometimes we have to rewrite and recommit to those new values and ethics. Model the new philosophy consistently. Realign behavior with belief. So you believe that you're a good leader, and you believe that this new content, this new context that you're in, this new culture that you're in, you believe in it. And so your behavior has to match that. Essentially what that means is that you have to be aligned. Because if I say, in front of my boss, like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, I really agree with where we're heading as a company, and you don't, and then you go back to your desk, people can tell. They're going to be able to see through it. Your body language, your behaviors, the things that you say, the things that you do are going to show others that you're not fully invested. You don't fully believe in it. So in closing, I encourage you guys to create or review your leadership philosophy this week. Offer a downloadable And remember, the best leaders don't just lead others, they lead themselves first. And I think that's vitally important as well. So I encourage you guys to review your leadership philosophy, relook at it, reevaluate, reassess, see where you're at. And just always, always, always remember that you lead yourself well first. You have to lead yourself before you can lead others. You have to love yourself first before you can love others properly as well. And with that, I just want to thank you guys. Please like, share, subscribe to this episode. If you've enjoyed the content this week, please leave a comment. You can find this on Apple at Inner Self Guide. You can find it also on Spotify and iHeartRadio. It's just Inner Self Guide podcast when you type it in. Also, it's on YouTube. And I also have Instagram at The Inner Self Guide. And Facebook is Inner Self Guide as well. Until next time, stay blessed.